The MG ZS has been an enormous success in Australia, becoming the best-selling small SUV. So when MG brought out an all-new model, they kept the formula pretty much the same. So much the same that at a glance it looks almost the same as the previous model. But it's not. It's different. Your search algorithm has brought you to me. My name is Alex Dalrymple. This is my channel, Four Wheels and a Seat, where I review new cars every week. For people who are looking to buy a new car and don't know which one to get, I can help you out with a simple, straightforward, easy to understand review. Don't forget to hit subscribe, the notification bell, and if you enjoy the video, please do give me a like. So with the ZS, MG are very much living by the philosophy, if you're onto a good thing, stick to it. So yes, it does look similar to the old model, with the most noticeable difference being here at the front, with an all-new front end that brings it in line with other MGs and now makes it look less like a Mazda. So we've got the big MG badge up here at the top, a new sleek design here that I think reminds me of Ford just a little bit perhaps, some brand new LED light clusters that look really good too. This particular model of the ZS is a Hybrid Plus Excite, so it gets slightly bigger wheels than the equivalent petrol-powered car. Their 17-inch alloys look pretty good, and also silver roof rails up here on top. It's the rear of the new ZS that looks the most like the old car though. In fact, I approached this car from behind when I first got into it and I thought it's exactly the same, but no, it is subtly different. However, we still have fake exhausts down here on the bumper, and underneath the tailgate is a 443 litre storage space. Knock down the rear seats, you can expand that by a further 1,000 litres. Up the front, we've got a hybrid powertrain consisting of a 1.5 litre four-cylinder petrol engine mated to an electric motor. Together they output 158 kilowatts of power and a very respectable 465 newton meters of torque. Power goes to the front wheels only via a hybrid transmission. Average fuel economy clocks in at 4.7 litres per 100 kilometres. The all-new ZS has an all-new interior, of course, and it feels familiar but better. It's a nicer mix of materials, a better design, and just feels really solid. I really like this fabric here across the waistline. The center console screen, well, here in the Excite Hybrid Plus, we get a 12-inch screen which runs an updated version of the software that was in the previous model. It's pretty good, pretty easy to use. There's no wireless Apple CarPlay or Android Auto though. Unfortunately, you will need a USB cable to use those. The system is quite easy to use and fairly intuitive, and the graphics are nice and sharp. The image from the reversing cameras and the front camera, in fact, there's cameras actually dotted all around the outside of this car as well, is nice and sharp and clear. Plus there is also top-down 360 view to help with parking. Climate controls are also run exclusively through this system, which I don't love, but there are shortcuts here for the front and rear demisters plus the fan speed, but that's pretty much it as far as physical controls go. Oh, volume control here for the sound system too. Underneath that, no wireless phone charging either, but we've got those two USB ports and a 12-volt outlet. I really love this gear shifter. It has the best feel. It feels like something out of a 1980s video game, like Afterburner. It's so satisfying to go, yeah! Sorry, that's just the teenage boy in me coming out. A few little storage spaces here for your phone. We've got the big stop-start button for the engine here, the drive mode selector. A couple of cup holders that are, to be honest, a little bit too small, and yeah, a smallish center console bin. No head-up display. The digital instrument cluster actually isn't all digital at all. It's sort of a combination of LEDs and an LED screen. On the outside there are LEDs displaying the speed and RPMs and battery power and fuel level as well. In the center is a 7-inch screen with all the regular dashboard kind of stuff that you get. You can cycle through a few different display modes. And I really like what they've done with this design. It is completely different to anything I've ever seen before, but it looks really cool and futuristic. The steering wheel has a nice feel. It's pretty much a standard MG wheel, flat top, flat bottom. I wish it was maybe just a touch smaller, but that's fine. We can give that a pass. Controls for the sound system and adaptive cruise control. Annoyingly, you do kind of have to change modes on this because this paddle over here on the right actually doubles for sound system controls as well as controlling the functions on the screen. So you've just got to make sure that you hit this middle button first before you try to make any adjustments to the screen. Otherwise you'll be changing the volume and skipping tracks on the music, which is not always what you want to be doing. The seats are fabric. There is manual adjustment only, no lumbar support. So unfortunately for me, not the most comfortable, but good visibility. However, plenty of headroom, loads of headroom. Sitting nice and low in the cabin too makes for a slightly more sporty feeling drive. And checking out the back seat of the ZS. Yeah, really good actually, loads of room. I'm behind my own seating position. I'm 190 centimeters tall, not touching the seat in front, loads of headroom. A couple of air vents back here, plus a USB-A port. Be better if it was USB-C to be honest. And nice and light and bright with the light headliner, big windows. I think kids will be quite comfortable back here. However, there is no armrest. But other than that, yeah, ZS gets really high marks for rear seat comfort. So what's it like to drive? Yeah, pretty good. I mean, it's kind of what you'd expect for a car in this price range. So perhaps not the most refined and smoothest car you'll ever drive, but certainly not unduly rough or harsh. The one thing I don't love though is this hybrid gearbox, which is very strange because most hybrid cars use either regenerative braking or have a generator at the front of the car to power the battery, allowing the car to run in full EV mode when it's cruising along the freeway or at low speeds. This car, however, does something a little bit weird in that it uses the engine itself to charge the battery, which means you can be driving along very quietly and comfortably at 45, 50 kilometers an hour and the engine just sitting at 1,500 revs, when suddenly it will jump up to 4,500 revs and make a lot of noise, and there's nothing much really going on, and you don't really quite know why the engine is revving so hard. I guess the upside of that though is that you do get a fair amount of EV capability. The car can run in full EV mode for a reasonable amount of time. I mean, you know, I'm talking a few minutes, so long as it's not under too much strain. But to add to the noise also is a fair amount of beeping, overspeed warnings, lane departure warnings, warnings telling you to slow down if the car detects that you're getting too close to the car in front. You can silence a lot of these, but you've pretty much got to do it on every trip, which is a bit annoying. There are cameras dotted around the outside of the car on both wing mirrors and also at the front and the back, which is actually quite rare for a car at this price point. You don't often see that. There are a number of cars, you know, from Honda, for example, who charge $15,000, $20,000 more than MG do for a Civic that only has one camera on it at the back. So as far as cameras go, this car is exceptionally well equipped. And there we go. You might be able to hear the engine revving there. I'm not really doing much. We're cruising along at 46 and the engine is now at 3,500 RPM. Now, aside from all of that excessive revving, the engine's actually very quiet, and it is hard to tell when you're in EV mode or the engine is on, so long as it's at low RPM. But it just seems to go all over the place. I mean, one moment it's at 4,000, 4,500, and then it drops down to next to nothing. So, and it doesn't really quite have anything to do with what speed you're doing. Is the MG ZS a turnback car, a car so good looking that you have to turn back and look at it after you've parked it? It's not ugly, it's quite good looking. Is it turnback worthy? Maybe not, it's just not terribly distinctive. But playing it safe as far as design goes, I think actually works really well for MG. They certainly sell a lot of these. Oh my God, that engine's noisy. It's very weird when that happens, especially when you're on a downhill incline and you're not going very fast. Here it goes again, up to 3,700 RPM at 50 kilometers an hour. There's no paddle shifters in this car either, so you can't even change gear if you wanted to. And there's actually no manual override of the gears at all. The regular petrol versions of the ZS have a CVT, and I'm not quite sure how this hybrid transmission works. I haven't quite gone into it in that level of depth, but I'm suspecting it's a similar arrangement. There are 3 levels of regenerative braking, and you can adjust those through the center console screen. There are a few drive modes as well. I've been cruising around in normal for most of the week. There's sport, but I've kept it out of that because I really don't want the engine to rev any more than it already does. Eco, which kind of dulls everything down, and preferences electric driving mode. And yeah, I think normal is really the best place to be. 465 Newton meters of torque does make the MG ZS Hybrid Plus quite zippy. So it is really quite nice to drive. There's no sort of, lack of power, or, if you need to do a quick maneuver to get out of someone's way, you've got plenty of go to be, able to do that. Oh, there goes the revving. Oh, how high are we going to get this time? 4,300 RPM. If I put my foot down even harder? No, it just stays the same. So the electric motor is actually taking over the acceleration at that point while the battery is being charged by the petrol engine. So normally there's that old analogy of you can have good but not cheap, or you can have cheap but not good. Kudos to MG though, they've actually managed to find the perfect balance of good and cheap. I mean, I think cheap's an unfair word. Let's go with affordable. Because for the amount of money you pay for this car, you really are getting some really good tech. It's really well made, and it's a good size. I mean, there is plenty of room for a small family. And there's a 10-year warranty, which is industry leading. The MG ZS really does sit very comfortably at the intersection of affordable and good. It starts at around about $26,000 and goes up to $33,000 for how you see it here. Now, yes, there are a few bits of kit missing which I wish it would have, and also that noisy engine charging. The battery is not really ideal, but if you can see beyond those and look at its 10-year warranty, I think you'll find that the ZS is outstandingly good value.